The sun rose gently over the Pacific, its light spilling across the glassy skyscrapers of New San Francisco like liquid gold. From the vantage point of the United Earth Council's tower, the city seemed almost untouched by time. No smoke billowed from factories, no sirens pierced the air, and even the hum of vehicles was muted by sleek maglev highways designed to glide silently through the urban jungle. Below, crowds gathered in the plazas and parks, faces turned skyward in anticipation. Today was the day, the first official meeting between humanity and an alien civilization. The Threx Dominion delegation was due to arrive in orbit any moment now. A colossal starship, dark, angular, and imposing, hung just beyond the moon, waiting for its invitation. The world had changed. Gone were the days when nations tore each other apart in endless war. The last great war had ended nearly 50 years ago, after Earth's leaders agreed on a radical new path: peace through unity and disarmament. The global military was dismantled. Soldiers returned to their homes, weapons were repurposed or melted down, and warships turned into museums. Some called it naive. Some called it impossible. But for decades, humanity had held fast to this vision: a planet united, a species that had chosen peace. Yet, beneath the gleaming surface of this new world lay old scars. The scars of loss, of memories too bitter to share, of promises made in shadow. At the edge of the crowd stood a boy no more than 10 years old, clutching a small homemade model spaceship. His eyes were wide with wonder, reflecting the silver sheen of the alien vessel hanging in the sky. "Do you think they'll be nice?" he whispered to his mother, who smiled but said nothing. Nearby, a group of diplomats in sleek white uniforms exchanged quiet words. The United Earth Council had prepared carefully for this moment, crafting a message of goodwill and hope. They hoped the Threx would respond in kind. But even as the sun climbed higher, an undercurrent of unease rippled through the crowd, an instinct, hard to shake, that something was off. Inside the council tower, Ambassador Lena Rake paced her office, eyes fixed on the live feed from the orbital dock. The massive Threx ship, its hull black and shimmering like a shard of obsidian, had begun lowering its landing pods. The delegation would touch down within minutes. Lena's fingers tightened around the edge of her desk. "Remember," she told herself, "they come in peace. Trust the protocol." But deep inside, a voice whispered caution. The Threx were known throughout the Orion Arm not for diplomacy, but for conquest. To them, Earth's pacifism could be an opportunity, a sign of weakness to exploit. Her gaze flicked to the holomap, where a cluster of red blips indicated Threx ships gathering near Earth's outer stations. She swallowed hard. Thousands of miles away, in a forgotten corner of North America, another woman watched the skies, not with hope, but with cold calculation. Commander Arya Locke stood on the porch of a weathered cabin, eyes narrowed as the distant stars shimmered above the trees. Her face was lined from years of hard living, her hands steady and scarred. She had not been home in years. In the shadows of the last war, she had been a ghost and operative for missions that never made the history books. When the peace accords dissolved Earth's armies, she disappeared into the wilderness, cutting all ties. But she hadn't forgotten. When the news came of the Threx fleet approaching, Arya's instincts flared. Peace was fragile, she knew, thin as ice over a stormy sea. Back in New San Francisco, the landing pods touched down gently on the council plaza. A crowd of officials and journalists pressed forward, cameras flashing. From the largest pod, 3 figures emerged. Tall, alien, unyielding. The Threx Dominion envoy-scaled warriors, with piercing eyes and armor etched in swirling patterns, stepped onto Earth soil for the first time in human memory. Their leader's voice, amplified but harsh, echoed over the plaza in perfect English. "We come to establish cooperation." The crowd held its breath. In the seconds that followed, the world watched. The Threx extended hands clawed but careful. The ambassador stepped forward, returning the gesture. "On behalf of Earth," Lena said, "we welcome you in peace." The Threx leader's eyes flickered, calculating. But beneath the veneer of diplomacy, a darker plan took root. That night, as Earth cities dimmed their lights and the world settled into uneasy rest, somewhere in the vast dark beyond, the stars, the Threx Dominion commanders convened in shadowed chambers aboard their warship. "The humans are weak," one growled. "They have disarmed. They are ripe for the taking." Another nodded, claws tapping impatiently. "They will not resist. We take their planet and their knowledge, and the Orion arm will bow to us." But unknown to them, on Earth, old eyes still watched. Old hands still gripped weapons forged not from metal, but from experience and unforgiving resolve. Because Earth had refused war, not because it could not fight, but because it chose to wait. And now the moment had come. The night air hung heavy with silence over Wendover, a small town tucked deep within the northern forests of North America. The trees swayed gently under a blanket of stars, the only sound the distant hoot of an owl. For decades, Wendover had been forgotten by the world, a place for those who wanted to disappear or hide from memories best left unspoken. That was exactly why it was chosen. A squad of Threx soldiers, clad in blackened armor that glistened faintly under the moonlight, moved silently through the shadows. Their reptilian eyes scanned every corner, every cracked window, searching for resistance where none was expected. "Clear," hissed one, stepping over broken glass near a small cabin on the edge of town. Inside, the cabin was empty, or so it seemed. Commander Arya Locke had been waiting. For years, she'd prepared. For a day like this, when the quiet peace humanity had worked so hard to build would be shattered by invaders, who saw weakness as an invitation. Her hands rested lightly on the worn wooden table, but her mind was razor-sharp, calculating every possible outcome. She could hear the faint scrape of boots on gravel outside. The Threx were confident, arrogant. They thought Earth's disarmament was surrender. They were about to learn the cost of that mistake. One of the soldiers kicked open the door, shouting in guttural Threx, and the rest followed, weapons raised. The first room was a living area cluttered with books and old photographs. Nothing suspicious. "Search upstairs," their captain ordered. As they ascended the creaking stairs, Arya slipped into the shadows behind the cabin, moving like a ghost. From her pocket, she pulled a small device, a remote-triggered EMP pulse. A low hum filled the air. The lights inside the cabin flickered and died. Confused, the soldiers stopped, weapons sweeping the darkness. Then came the first shot. A flash of light erupted from the attic window, followed by a storm of carefully placed charges. Arya's trap shattered the glass and sent one soldier flying backward, unconscious before he hit the floor. Chaos exploded. The remaining Threx scrambled, firing blindly into the dark, but Arya had already disappeared into the forest. Back outside, more squads had landed, expecting to meet no resistance. Instead, they found bodies silent, ruthless reminders that Earth's peace was a mask hiding something far deadlier. Arya moved fast, her combat training from decades past flowing like water. She picked off patrols one by one, setting traps, collapsing trees, and using every inch of terrain to her advantage. Her voice crackled into a hidden comm unit. Phase 1 complete. The ghosts are awake. Across the globe, similar pockets of resistance flared to life. Former soldiers, scientists, spies, all the ghosts who had vanished when Earth disarmed, reactivated caches of weapons and tech, long hidden in secret bunkers. Humanity's peace had been real, but so had their preparation. On board the Threx, flagship orbiting Earth, Commander Thalkesh stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The invaders on the ground were not compliant. They were organized, ruthless. Report, Thalkesh barked. A human operative, codename Locke, has led attacks against our forces, a subordinate replied. They are using guerrilla tactics we have never encountered. Thalkesh's scaled lips curled into a snarl. Then they will learn quickly. Deploy additional squads. Crush the resistance. Back on Earth, Arya crouched beside a flickering terminal deep inside an abandoned underground bunker. The walls were lined with maps, data nodes, and weapon schematics, the remnants of Project Cataclysm, Earth's last and deadliest defense plan. She keyed in a series of commands, and a hidden panel slid open, revealing crates of advanced weaponry plasma. Rifles, nanotech mines, and AI-controlled drones. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Earth had refused war, yes. But she had spent the last 20 years making sure Earth would never lose one. Night fell again, but Wendover was no longer quiet. In the shadows, human operatives coordinated attacks. Through encrypted channels, supply lines were cut, communication hubs sabotaged. The Threks found themselves hunted, confused, and vulnerable. At one point, a Threx patrol found themselves trapped in a collapsing mine shaft, a trap set by Arya and her team. The tunnels caved in, leaving only silence behind. Meanwhile, Earth's global network lit up with intercepted communications. Alien commands that broadcast their confusion and frustration. The galaxy was watching, and the invaders were losing. Yet, the worst was yet to come. Arya returned to the forest's edge, eyes scanning the star-studded sky. The war the world thought it had left behind was back. But this time, humanity wouldn't just survive. They would fight, and they would win. Her voice was quiet but fierce. They knocked on the wrong door. The night clung thick and heavy over Wendover as the fires burned low, casting long shadows against the tall pines that framed the small town. Smoke curled up lazily into the cold air, mingling with the faint scent of pine and earth. The once silent streets now echoed with the muffled sounds of distant gunfire and the low hum of makeshift engines. Commander Arya Locke moved swiftly through the shadows, her dark eyes sharp as they pierced the darkness. Around her, the ghosts of Earth's lost soldiers had stirred, operatives who had vanished into the underworld when peace was declared, who had buried their rage and skill beneath the calm surface of a world that believed war was dead. But war was never truly gone. It had been waiting like a coiled serpent beneath frozen ice. The Threx Dominion forces had made a fatal mistake. They assumed Earth was unarmed, that humanity's refusal to fight was weakness, not patience. Arya had watched those first moments of occupation carefully, waiting for the right spark to ignite the flame. And now, it had come. The village square was a trap. The Threx patrol had taken shelter behind overturned cars and broken market stalls, their scaled faces twisted in confusion and anger. They had expected compliance, not resistance. "Hold position," the squad leader hissed, his voice thick with frustration. "They will surrender." But surrender was not in Earth's blood anymore. From a vantage point on the rooftop of the burned-out town hall, Arya peered through her scope, waiting for the perfect moment. The soldiers were tense, their weapons twitching. Suddenly, a soft whistle sliced through the night. A figure darted from the shadows, a young man no older than 20, armed with a makeshift crossbow and a fierce determination. He fired. The bolt found its mark in the neck of the nearest Threx soldier, who collapsed silently, his comrades screaming in alarm. Chaos exploded. Arya dropped from the roof and landed with a practiced grace, leading a squad of ghost operatives from their hiding spots. Their weapons, small, silent, deadly, spoke a language the Threx were unprepared for. Explosions rocked the edges of the town as concealed mines detonated beneath armored vehicles. AI drones buzzed overhead, intercepting enemy fire with blistering precision. The humans fought not with brute force, but with cunning. They moved like shadows, striking fast and disappearing before the invaders could respond. Inside a ruined schoolhouse converted into an impromptu command center, Arya tapped furiously at a holographic map projected over the cracked wooden table. "Threx supply lines are weakening," she said, voice steady but urgent. "Their reinforcements won't last much longer. We have a chance to push them off the continent." Around her, veterans nodded grimly. These were not civilians. They were warriors who had tasted blood and vowed never to be caught unprepared again. The Threx commander in the field snarled. Into his comm unit, frustration dripping from every word. "These humans are ghosts. They vanish like smoke, then strike without warning." Back on the flagship orbiting Earth, Commander Thalkesh slammed his clawed fist onto the console. "Send reinforcements. Hunt them down, no mercy." But even with reinforcements, the Threx found themselves outmatched. Earth's defenders knew every inch of their terrain. They had prepared for this moment in silence for decades. A sudden explosion shook the schoolhouse. Dust fell from the rafters, and several operatives hit the floor to avoid flying debris. Arya's comm crackled to life. "Base is under attack. They found our location." Her heart pounded, but her face remained calm. "Hold your positions," she ordered. "Prepare for counterattack." Outside, Threx shock troops poured into the ruined village, their heavy armor clanking against broken pavement. They expected to crush the resistance once and for all. Instead, they walked into an ambush. Hidden in the rubble, human operatives unleashed a storm of fire. The Threx staggered under the onslaught, their advanced armor not impervious to explosives designed to exploit its weaknesses. In the chaos, Arya moved with lethal precision. She ducked behind a toppled wall and fired a burst from her plasma rifle, cutting down a charging soldier. Nearby, a young operative named Jace tossed a grenade into a cluster of Threx engineers, attempting to repair a downed vehicle. "This ends tonight," Arya muttered to herself. Hours later, as dawn crept over the horizon, the Threx forces began to retreat. Their losses were heavy, morale shattered. On the rooftop once more, Arya gazed at the empty streets. Blood stained the cracked pavement, silent witnesses to the violence that had shattered the peace. Her voice was low as she spoke into the comm. "Unit," a message sent not just to her allies, but to the galaxy beyond. "They knocked on the wrong door," she said. "And now they will pay." As Earth's defenders regrouped, news spread rapidly. Across the planet, pockets of resistance flared to life, coordinated and deadly. The peaceful Earth the galaxy had known was gone. In its place stood a planet reborn in fire and blood, a planet ready to remind the universe what humanity was truly capable of. The morning sun crept over the jagged peaks of the Rockies, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape. In a concealed underground complex carved into the mountainside, lights flickered on silent but alive, awakening after decades of dormancy. Inside, a group of figures stirred from cryochambers and hidden bunkers. These were not civilians, nor diplomats, nor scientists. These were the ghosts of Earth's forgotten wars, the soldiers, spies, and commandos who had vanished when humanity pledged peace. Among them, Commander Arya Locke stood tall, her piercing gaze steady as she oversaw the awakening. This was the moment she and her comrades had prepared for, the reckoning hidden beneath the world's fragile calm. "Status report, Arya," commanded, her voice cold and steady. Lieutenant Marcus Vell, a grizzled veteran with steel-gray eyes, stepped forward. "Weapons caches secured. Communication systems online. Field units reporting engagement. The Threx are already faltering under coordinated strikes." Arya nodded. "Good. We hit fast, hit hard, and disappear. Earth's peace was a choice, but now it's a shield we will shatter." For years, the world had celebrated disarmament. The military had been dissolved, and the peacekeepers had stepped back, leaving Earth vulnerable, or so the galaxy believed. But the truth was far different. Earth had built a vast network of hidden bunkers, scattered armories, and silent watchmen ready to strike when the time came. These ghosts were trained in every form of warfare: guerrilla tactics, cyber warfare, psychological operations. They were the planet's secret weapon. Outside the complex, remote outposts lit up the night. Covert operatives slipped into position in cities and wilderness, merging with civilians who believed the war was over. Arya's voice echoed through encrypted channels, a rallying call to warriors sleeping beneath the surface of peace. "We are not the victims they expect," she said. "We are the ghosts they cannot kill." In the sprawling metropolis of Neo-Tokyo, former intelligence officer Hana Saito adjusted her visor and tapped her earpiece. Her team moved through the neon-lit streets with practiced silence, disabling surveillance drones and cutting alien comlinks. "Command, this is Saito. Multiple targets neutralized. Enemy supply lines disrupted. The network is alive." Back in the bunker, Arya allowed herself a faint smile. The fight was no longer a distant hope. It was reality. Meanwhile, the Threx. Dominion scrambled to respond. Their war commanders convened in a towering warship orbiting Earth, frustration and disbelief etched into their faces. How do these humans, disarmed, scattered, supposed to be weak, resist so fiercely? Snarled Commander Thalkesh. "They are ghosts," hissed a subordinate. "They vanish when we approach, strike from the shadows. It's unlike anything in our archives." Thalkesh's claws clenched. "We will find their leaders. We will crush their nests. We will burn Earth to ash if we must." Back on the surface, Arya led a squad deep into an abandoned industrial district. Rusted factories and empty warehouses became battlefields once more. Her team moved with deadly precision, disabling a Threx communications array with an electromagnetic pulse. As the alien systems flickered and died, human forces launched a simultaneous strike on supply convoys, crippling the invaders' ability to coordinate. In one cramped alley, Arya paused, catching her breath. Beside her, Jace, the young operative, who had fired the first shot in Wendover, checked his gear, eyes bright with determination. "Feels like the war never really ended," he said quietly. Arya glanced at him, her gaze softening for a moment. "It just went underground. Now, it's back." The Resistance's successes inspired civilians worldwide. Messages of defiance spread like wildfire on hacked broadcast channels. "Earth fights back," the broadcast declared. "Peace is our shield. War is our sword." As the days passed, the balance of power began to shift. Threx forces, once confident and ruthless, found themselves hunted in their own camps. Supply drops were ambushed, reinforcements delayed by hidden explosives. The invaders' advanced technology was no match for Earth's intimate knowledge of terrain and guerrilla tactics. At a hidden command hub beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., Arya studied reports of coordinated strikes across multiple continents. "The ghosts rise," she murmured, "and we are just getting started." That night, under a blanket of stars, Arya sent a final message to the Threx Dominion broadcast. On every channel they controlled, "Earth was never yours to take. We refused war, not because we could not fight, but because we chose when to strike. You have awakened a sleeping giant. We are the ghosts beneath your feet. And we will not rest until every last invader is gone." The silence that followed was thick with promise and threat, because Earth ghosts had risen. And the galaxy would soon learn that peace, when broken, was the most dangerous weapon of all. The sun dipped low behind the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over the scorched Earth where the Threx had set up their forward command base. The sprawling complex of tents, armored vehicles, and communication arrays looked formidable, if only on the surface. From a ridge overlooking the camp, Commander Arya Locke studied the scene through her scope. The flickering lights of alien guards patrolling the perimeter blinked like fireflies in the gathering dusk. Her team, a dozen operatives cloaked in adaptive camouflage, lay motionless beside her, each waiting for the signal. "Ready," whispered Jace, his youthful voice steady despite the tension. He tightened the grip on his plasma rifle, eyes never leaving the enemy lines. Arya gave a curt nod. This was it. The first major coordinated strike by Earth's hidden resistance against the Threx Dominion's occupation forces. Years of preparation, decades of silence, all culminating in this moment. The operation was simple in design but lethal in execution. Disable the enemy's communications and sabotage their supply lines in one swift surgical blow. Inside the camp, Threx soldiers went about their routines with brutal efficiency. Patrols marched in tight formations, scanning the woods. Engineers worked on repairing damaged vehicles, unaware that death lurked just beyond the tree line. "On my mark," Arya whispered into her unit. 3, 2, 1. Now! A sudden burst of electromagnetic pulses swept through the camp, sending the alien communication towers into darkness. Radios crackled and died, screens flickered off, and coordinated commands turned to static. Chaos erupted instantly. Arya's squad burst from cover, moving fast and hard. They planted explosives at fuel depots and weapon caches, retreating before the fires they ignited could be extinguished. Screams and the roar of engines filled the air as Threx forces scrambled to respond. But Earth's operatives vanished like shadows into the surrounding forest, melting away before reinforcements could arrive. Jace covered their retreat with a hail of plasma fire, taking down a squad of pursuing Threx soldiers with deadly precision. Meanwhile, deep within the camp's command tent, Threx officers shouted orders in sharp clicks and hisses. The loss of communications had thrown their entire operation into disarray. Commander Thalkesh's claws slammed the table. "Find them! Hunt them! Kill them!" But the humans were already gone. Back in the forest, Arya crouched behind a fallen tree, her breath steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Phase 1 complete," she said into her No casualties on our side. Her voice carried relief, but also a steely resolve. This was only the beginning. Across the planet, similar strikes were underway. In the dense jungles of the Amazon, human fighters sabotaged a Threx mineral extraction site, crippling their resource flow. In the frozen wastes of Siberia, stealth teams disrupted supply convoys with precision attacks. Every continent felt the sting. In New San Francisco, the United Earth Council monitored the escalating conflict with a mix of hope and dread. Ambassador Lena Rake stood before a massive holographic map, watching as red markers signaled enemy losses and human gains. "We knew this day would come," she said quietly. "But can we contain it?" Her deputy, a sharp-eyed strategist named Malik, responded grimly. "Contain? No. This is war, Ambassador. The peace we built is breaking." Meanwhile, Arya gathered her squad at a safe house deep in the Rockies. They were bruised but unbeaten, their spirits unbroken. "Good work today," she said. "The Threx thought they could take Earth without a fight. They were wrong." Jace grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. "Feels good to be back in the game." Arya's eyes hardened. "This is only the start. The Dominion will come back harder, smarter. We need to be ready." That night, as fires burned across alien supply depots and distant gunfire echoed through the mountains, a broadcast interrupted all civilian channels worldwide. Arya's face appeared, calm but fierce. "People of Earth," she declared, "the war is no longer distant. The Threx Dominion has chosen to invade a planet that refused war. We are not helpless. We are the ghosts that will haunt every inch of their occupation. Stand with us, fight with us, and together we will reclaim our home. The broadcast sparked a wave of resistance worldwide. Civilians took up arms, scientists hacked enemy systems, and old soldiers returned from obscurity. The peaceful era was over. A new chapter of human defiance had begun. Above, in the void of space, the Threx warships thrummed with tension. Commander Thalkesh stared at Earth's glowing blue surface, anger burning in his eyes. "They have awakened," he muttered. "And soon, the galaxy will know the cost of underestimating humanity." Asterisk. The cold bite of dawn seeped through the cracks in the stone walls of the hidden bunker beneath the Carpathian Mountains. Commander Arya Locke stood before a glowing holomap, tracing the lines of Threx movement across Europe. The alien forces had been relentless, attempting to consolidate their foothold, but every advance had met with brutal resistance. "We've disrupted their supply chains for weeks," Lieutenant Marcus Vell reported. "They're scrambling to re-establish control, but morale is low. They don't understand our terrain, and we're making sure they never will." Arya nodded, her eyes sharp as a hawk's. "Good. Keep the pressure, but expect a counterstrike. They won't give up easily." Across the ocean, in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, a small group of resistance fighters gathered in the shadow of a ruined skyscraper. They were not soldiers by training, but engineers, scientists, and former aid workers, united by a single purpose: to cripple the Threx Dominion's grip on Earth's technology. Dr. Kemi Adeyemi, a brilliant cybernetics expert, hacked into a Threx communication node. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, injecting viruses and misinformation into the alien network. "Every signal they send is a lie now," she said with a grim smile. "They'll be chasing ghosts in their own systems." Back in the mountain bunker, Arya received an urgent message. "Commander, Threx forces are massing near the Danube. They're preparing for a major offensive." Arya's gaze hardened. "Then we'll give them a fight they'll never forget." The battlefield was a shattered forest near the river's edge. Fallen trees lay like broken bones across the terrain, and the air was thick with smoke and the metallic tang of blood. Arya's squad, bolstered by local resistance fighters, took positions behind natural cover. The Threx assault was approaching, massive and overwhelming on paper, but this was Earth, and every inch of it was a trap. As the alien forces advanced, human sharpshooters picked them off from the shadows. Mines hidden beneath fallen leaves exploded with brutal precision. Drones darted through the smoke, confusing and disabling enemy machinery. Arya moved like a phantom, leading charges that broke enemy lines and then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The Threx roared in frustration and pain, their heavy armor failing to protect them from guerrilla tactics and relentless harassment. Amid the chaos, Arya caught sight of a young Threx officer, snarling orders with feral intensity. She hesitated, then fired a precise shot, bringing the alien down. It was a small victory, but every loss mattered. Elsewhere, diplomatic channels buzzed with unexpected news. Several alien factions observing the conflict from afar had begun sending envoys to Earth. The Threx Dominion's reputation for brutality had alienated potential allies. Ambassador Lena Rake met with a delegation from the Valari Collective, a powerful alien coalition known for their advanced technology and strict code of honor. "We do not condone the Threx's invasion," their leader said. "Earth's resistance is admirable. We are prepared to offer assistance." Lena's eyes gleamed with cautious hope. "Together, we can turn the tide." Back on Earth, Arya received intelligence about Valari technology energy shields, faster-than-light communication disruptors, and weapon systems that could shift the balance. She knew the resistance needed allies and advanced tools to survive. The fight raged on for days, but gradually, the tide began to turn. The Threx found themselves pushed back from critical strongholds. Their losses mounted, and whispers of dissent spread among their ranks. On the battlefield, Arya rallied her fighters with fierce determination. Every strike weakens them. Every victory brings us closer to reclaiming our planet. Jace, bruised, but unbroken, grinned. Feels like we're finally making them bleed. That night, under the same stars that had witnessed humanity's long peace, a new chapter began. The ghosts of Earth were no longer hiding. They were rising, and with newfound allies and unyielding resolve, they were ready to drive the invaders off their world. The night sky above the ruined city of New Berlin was pierced by streaks of red and blue laser fire and tracer rounds, illuminating the darkness like violent fireworks. The air was thick with smoke, burning metal, and the screams of the wounded. The Threx Dominion had launched their most aggressive aerial assault yet, hoping to crush the human resistance in a single decisive blow. Commander Arya Locke stood amidst the rubble, her plasma rifle steady despite the chaos swirling around her. Beside her, Jace and the rest of their squad moved with practiced coordination, each step measured, each shot calculated. The sky shattered again as a massive Threx dropship descended, disgorging heavily armored troops onto the battlefield. The ground shook beneath the boots of the invaders, and the smell of ozone filled the air. "We can't hold them here," Arya said into her cum, voice cutting through the cacophony. "We need to fall back to the secondary defense lines." "Negative," came the response from Field Command. "Hold position at all costs." "Reinforcements." "Are en route." Arya clenched her jaw. Orders or not, she knew the reality. If they lost New Berlin, the Dominion would control Europe's heartland. The battle intensified. Threx shock troops advanced with brutal efficiency, their bio-enhanced, muscles and armor making them deadly adversaries. But Earth's defenders fought with desperation born of survival. Explosions rocked the streets as human artillery and Valari-supplied energy cannons ripped through enemy ranks. The Resistance's hit-and-run tactics slowed the invaders, but the cost was high. Amid the firefight, Arya spotted Lieutenant Marcus Vell rallying a group of wounded fighters, organizing their retreat. His face was grim, the weight of command pressing down like a mountain. "Marcus, we need a plan," Arya shouted over the din. He nodded. "We're calling in an airstrike on the Threx supply depot. It'll disrupt their operations long enough for us to regroup." Arya's eyes narrowed. "It's risky. The enemy has anti-air defenses. Better risk than annihilation." The Resistance fighters fell back under covering fire, moving through collapsed buildings and shattered streets. The sky rained destruction as the first human jets, equipped with Valari technology, soared overhead. Missiles streaked through the air, detonating with precision. The Threx supply depot exploded in a fiery inferno, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. But victory was not without sacrifice. Jace, caught in a sudden ambush, was hit by plasma fire. He collapsed against the wall, blood seeping through his uniform. Arya rushed to his side, heart pounding. "Hold on, Jace. You're going to make it." His eyes met hers, fierce even in pain. "This fight, it's bigger than me, Bigger than any of us." As medics rushed to evacuate the wounded, Arya's cum crackled with a chilling message. Threx reinforcements inbound. Multiple warships entering Earth's atmosphere. Her stomach dropped. The war was escalating beyond anything they'd prepared for. Back on the orbital command ship, Commander Thalkesh watched the battlefield with cold fury. His plan had been to crush Earth quickly, but the Resistance's resilience forced him into a brutal stalemate. "We will deploy the Devastators," he snarled to his officers. "No mercy. Level the cities. Erase their hope." As the massive war machines descended from orbit, Earth's skies ignited with anti-orbital defenses. Valari energy cannons roared, human missile batteries flared, and resistance fighters launched desperate counterattacks. The heavens themselves became a battleground. In the thick of the fight, Arya stood tall, rallying her soldiers. "This is our home," she shouted. "They may bring fire from the stars, but we have the will of Earth itself behind us. Fight for every street, every life, every future." Her words echoed through the chaos, igniting a fierce determination in the hearts of her fighters. Hours later, as the fires burned low and the first light of dawn bled over the horizon, the battle for New Berlin had ended in a stalemate. The Threx had been pushed back, but at a terrible cost. The city lay in ruins, its people scarred but unbroken. Arya gazed at the shattered skyline, her voice soft but resolute. "We've lost much, but we have not lost everything. The war is far from over." And above them, the stars watched silently as Earth's ghosts prepared for the battles yet to come. Asterisk. The air was thick with tension as the combined forces of Earth's resistance and their Valari allies prepared for the final confrontation. The ruins of New Berlin lay behind them, a scarred testament to the cost of defiance. Ahead, in the desolate plains of Central Asia, the heart of the Threx Dominion's invasion fleet had gathered, a massive armada poised to crush what remained of human resistance. Commander Arya Locke stood at the forefront of the Allied command. Center, a holographic map swirling with countless troop movements and starship trajectories. Her voice was steady, unwavering. "This is our last chance to end this war. The Threx believe they can break us by sheer force. They are wrong. Tonight, we strike at the heart of their invasion fleet. We will make them pay for every life they took." In the warships orbiting overhead, Valari engineers worked feverishly to integrate Earth's guerrilla tactics into their battle strategies. Ambassador Lena Rake stood beside Arya, her expression a mixture of hope and resolve. "We have the technology. We have the spirit. Together, we can end this," Lena said. Arya nodded. "And we will." The battle began in a furious storm of light and sound. Threx warships unleashed barrages of plasma and missiles. They're overwhelming. Firepower designed to crush any opposition. But Earth's defenders were ready. Valari energy shields shimmered against the onslaught. Human pilots darted through space with lethal precision. And on the ground, resistance fighters disrupted enemy supply lines and launched surprise attacks on command centers. Arya led a strike team aboard a commandeered Threx cruiser. Their mission clear: disable the alien flagship's main reactor and sever their control. Inside the cold metallic corridors, fierce firefights erupted. Plasma blasts echoed, bodies fell, but the human squad pressed on, their determination unbreakable. In the command deck, Arya confronted Commander Thalkesh. The alien's eyes burned with rage and disbelief. "You think this will end the war?" he hissed. "You are but insects before the storm." Arya raised her rifle, unwavering. Insects, with fire in their veins. The fight was brutal and swift. With Jace covering her flank, Arya struck the final blow, severing the reactor's core. Outside, the Threx fleet faltered. Ships exploded in cascading fireballs, and the once unstoppable Armada began to retreat, broken and leaderless. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted across continents. Humanity had fought through darkness, through loss and despair, and emerged victorious. But victory came with a price. The planet was scarred, cities lay in ruins, and millions mourned. Arya stood on a hillside overlooking a broken world, her heart heavy yet proud. "We refused war because we believed in peace," she said softly. "But when war came to our door, we did not back down. We fought not for conquest, but for survival. For home." Ambassador Lena joined her, looking toward the stars. Earth's story is far from over, but now it's a story of hope, resilience, and unity. As the sun rose over the healing planet, Earth's ghosts, those who had slept for decades, walked openly among their people. They were heroes, legends reborn in the light of a new era. And though the stars remained vast and mysterious, humanity had proven one undeniable truth: peace is a choice. But when that peace is broken, the spirit of Earth's defenders will rise unyielding, unbroken, and ready